වීඩියෝ ඇමතුම්ද සමග මැසෙන්ජර් සේවාවන් රැසකට සහ POTV Go සඳහා නොමිලේ ඩේටා ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජි රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, negatives outweighing the positives. 5 COVID-19 patients discharged from hospital while only 4 fresh infections reported during the day. Ample stocks. Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited cancels new fuel orders. Grim forecast. Moody's Investors Service warns of an exacerbation in the government's liquidity and external risks. Silver lining. Inflation declines to 5.2% in April. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Thursday, the 30th of April, 2020.
SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamike Kanai. Let's start with your local stories. Now, the number of COVID-19 patients in the country rose to 653 today. But today's new infections of just 4 cases is a welcome reprieve from the high numbers of infections reported in the recent days. Today's additions bring up the country's active number of cases to 507. Now, meanwhile, on the more brighter side, 5 patients walked out of hospitals today after completely recovering from the virus. Health authorities continue to take measures to prevent clusters of people from being infected by disinfecting the areas frequented by COVID-19 carriers while also taking their associates into quarantine.
Since the identification of the first COVID-19 positive Navy sailor on the 22nd of April, 338 newly diagnosed COVID-19 infections have been reported as of today, which includes another 264 naval personnel and their associates. During the past 9 days, barring the clusters of infected Navy personnel at the Valisara Navy base, only 74 COVID-19 infected persons were detected from within quarantine facilities and during field inspections. Of the 30 cases identified yesterday, 20 were naval personnel of the Valisara Naval Base and 2 were sailors on leave. 7 persons exposed to the infected Navy personnel have also been diagnosed with COVID-19 and are residents of Badulla, Talatuwe, Hokandara, Kantale and Morontuduwa. Apart from the Navy personnel and their associates identified yesterday, one other patient among the group was detected from the Air Force Quarantine Centre. Meanwhile, a sailor at the Valisara Naval Base and residing in Kantale tested positive after undergoing a PCR test. According to our correspondent, the infected sailor was taken to the Valikanda Hospital's Special Treatment Unit last night. Steps were taken to transfer his family members for quarantine at the Mihintale facility. Following scrutiny of his travel history, authorities took measures to disinfect several places, including the Kantale police station where he had visited. As a result, the Traders Association in Kantale decided to close down all shops in the area. Authorities also took measures to prevent all vehicles from travelling past the roadblock at Agbopura in Kantale. In the meantime, after a Navy officer in Tangol was diagnosed with COVID-19, area public health inspectors took steps to disinfect the surrounding shops and the vicinity of his residence. Meanwhile, the LOLC group today handed 1,000 PPE suits worth over 2 million rupees to the Navy commander at the naval headquarters. Meanwhile, the Keselvatta and Gampula areas continue to remain in isolation since the 27th of this month due to the discovery of a COVID-19 infected person. 14 persons associated with the infected individual have also been quarantined at the facility in Kandakadu. In the meantime, 91 persons returned to their homes after completing a 14-day quarantine period at the Galkanda Army Camp in Polonnaruwa today. Meanwhile, as things stand, Colombo continues to top the list as the district with the highest number of infected persons with the identification of 157 cases. In the high-risk districts of Kalutara, Gampaha and Puttalam, 65, 47 and 41 patients have been found respectively. With the detection of 3 more cases in the Kurunegala district, the numbers in the area rose to 23. In addition to PCR tests, blood samples too were obtained from individuals in areas identified as high-risk zones in the Colombo district with the aim of preventing community spread. Accordingly, the program commenced at the Mutaya Road, which is under the jurisdiction of the Central Colombo MOH office. Associates of confirmed COVID-19 patients identified during such field inspections underwent PCR testing, and it was reported that none were COVID-19 positive. With the identification of fresh cases today, the total number of infections in the country rose to 653, with 507 among them active cases. With 5 more being discharged after complete recoveries, the number of recoveries stands at 139. 187 are currently under medical observation. Meanwhile, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva today responded to various rumours circulating on social media about the army.
ගොඩනැගිලි අපි එළියෙන් අරන් තියෙන්නේ 11ක් පමණයි. බස්නාහිර පළාතෙන් 5ක්, මුලතිව් ප්‍රදේශයෙන් 3ක් සහ මධ්‍යම පළාතෙන් 3ක් අරන් තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපි දන්නවා මේ ගොඩනැගිලි මොනවාද? ගොඩනැගිලි ඇතුලේ තියෙන ස්වභාවය. කියන පින්තූරයක් මමත් දැක්කා. ඒ පින්තූර ඒ කිසිම ගොඩනැගිල්ලක පින්තූරයක් නෙමෙයි. ඒතර බුද්ධ්‍යංශ තියෙන අපිට හොයාගන්න බැරි නෑනේ. කවුද මේවා කරන්නේ කියලා. නමුත් මේක පිට රටකින් තමයි මේක දාලා තියෙන්නේ. එක දෙයක් මේක කියන්න ඕන. අපි අපේ රණවිරුවන්ව රැක බලා ගන්න උපරිම. අපිට බිම බුදියනවා කියන මහ දේවල් නෙමෙයි. අපි බිම බුදියව නම් බුදියලා තියෙන්නේ. වෙන කිසි දෙයකට නෙමෙයි. අපේ රටේ මිනිස්සුන්ට අඳක බුදි කරන්න. අපි කවදාකවත් අපේ රණවිරුවන්ට ඒ දේවල් තත්ත්වයට පත් කරන්නේ නැහැ. අපිට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් උපරිමය. අපේ රණවිරුවන් බලා ගන්නවා. අපි රණවිරුවා කියලා කියන්නේ ඒකයි.
Meanwhile, under the government's repatriation program to bring back Sri Lankan expats unable to return home due to travel restrictions and the closing down of airports, another group of Sri Lankans were airlifted from Calcutta in India today. A total of 125 Sri Lankans were brought to the country by a special Sri Lankan Airlines charter flight. Meanwhile, the police media spokesperson stated that PCR tests are conducted on police officers deployed on duty in COVID-19 high-risk zones.
කෙසෙල්වත් පොලිස් බල ප්‍රදේශයේ බණ්ඩාරනායක මාවත ප්‍රදේශයේදී අපේ නිලධාරීන් ගණනාවක් අවදානම් සහගත තැනැත්තන් සමග රාජකාරී කරා. මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඊයේ පෙරේදාත් PCR පරීක්ෂණ වලට ලක් කරා සැකසහිත නිලධාරීන් ගණනාවක්. අපිට සන්තෝෂයි කියන්නේ ඒ සියලු දෙනාම මේ වෙන විට PCR පරීක්ෂණයේදී ඔවුන්ට ආසාදනය වී නැති බවට වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙනවා. කෙසේ වෙතත් මේ පියවර ගැනීමට හේතු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මහ ජනතාවගේ ආරක්ෂාව වෙනුවෙන්. විශේෂයෙන්ම පොලිස් නිලධාරියෙකු ආසාදනයේ වී තිබියදී ආසාදනය වූ බව නොදැන මහ ජනතාව අතර රාජකාරී කළොත් මහ ජනතාවට මෙම රෝගය ව්‍යාප්ත වීමේ අවදානමක් තිබෙනවා. එවැනි අවදානමකට අපේ රටේ මහ ජනතාව පත් කරන්න ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසිය කිසිසේත්ම කැමති නැහැ.
Now, Defence Secretary Major General Kamal Gunaratne requests the public not to stigmatise Triforces personnel, especially the sailors of the Sri Lankan Navy and their families who have been infected while fighting to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Issuing a statement, he said the Triforces personnel were playing a significant role as frontiers in the fight against the coronavirus to protect the country's population since the first Sri Lankan positive patient was found in the country. Now, he added that it is very unfortunate to see how people whom naval personnel try to protect have complained against them when some sailors had gone home on leave. The Defence Secretary went on to say that some sailors who were on leave and their families had to face harassment from neighbours even though they were not tested as coronavirus positives. He said, quote, "These people have forgotten that the Triforces personnel had saved them from terrorism, disasters like floods, landslides, tsunami and also man-made disasters, risking their lives. But when they had fallen victim of this disaster, people are going against them," unquote.
නිෂ්පාදිත දිනය කවදත් අලුත් වටවල තේ අරගන්න.
වටවල තේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තේ එක.
Now, the curfew, which was temporarily lifted at 5 this morning, was reimposed at 8 p.m. this evening, with it set to be in place until Monday, the 4th of May, without any breaks in between. The move was made in line with the directive announced by the President's office yesterday. Now, Head of Traffic Police DIG Ajit Rohana meanwhile revealed that a special operation will commence over the weekend to apprehend curfew violators and drug traffickers.
The curfew was temporarily lifted at 5 a.m. this morning in 21 districts other than for the Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara and Puttalam districts. In Kandy, Hatton and Ambalangoda, an increasing number of people were seen visiting shops in the area during this time. Due to the current island-wide scarcity of turmeric, a massive crowd of people were seen gathered outside a shop in Mathura town, eager to procure stocks for their homes. In Valimada town, the wearing of protective masks and gloves was not seen among members of the public. Meanwhile, with all barber salons ordered closed down following events at Bandaranaike in Colombo, public health inspectors in Balapitiya detected a barber salon operating in the area and shut the shop down after issuing a warning to the proprietor. According to the President's Media Division, the curfew in 21 districts, which was reimposed at 8 p.m. this evening, will continue in place until 5 a.m. on Monday the 4th of May. Meanwhile, the police have so far made 42,365 arrests of individuals for curfew violations and seized 10,982 vehicles to date since the curfew was first imposed.
අද රාත්‍රී 8 සිට සඳුදා අලුයම 5 දක්වා කාලය තුල ශ්‍රී ලංකාව පුරාම නිරෝධායන ඇදිරි නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. මාර්ග බාධක 1100කට ආසන්න සංඛ්‍යාවක් යොදවලා තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ සතියන්තේ විශේෂ මෙහෙයුම් වැටලීම් සිදු කරනවා. ඇදිරි නීති කඩ කරන්නන් වගේම නීති විරෝධී මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය මත්පැන් නිෂ්පාදනය කරන්නන් භාවිතා කරන්නන් පිළිබඳව සොයා බැලීම සඳහා.
The Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited says that it cancelled all new orders for fuel as the country has more than enough fuel to last over a month. Meanwhile, commuters who intend to use the railway services from Monday the 4th of May are requested to make online bookings in advance. The Department of Railways also insists that those who have made advance bookings may only arrive at the stations.
The Manning market was open to trade activities for a second consecutive day after remaining closed for over 2 weeks. Similar to yesterday, even though traders at the market sold their produce at lower prices, fewer customers were seen at the market space today. The Manning market will remain open tomorrow but will close on Sunday to facilitate disinfection of the premises. In the meantime, oil bowsers which arrived at the storage facility of the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminal was disinfected by the machine built by the Ministry of Defence. The chairman of the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminal Limited said that steps will be taken to terminate new fuel orders as fuel reserves have currently reached their maximum.
මම ඉතාමත්ම වගකීමෙන් කියනවා කිසිම බියක් සැකක් ඇති කරගන්න එපා අපි ගාව දැන් මාසයකට ඇති වෙන්න අපේ ඉන්ධන තොග තියෙනවා.
In the meantime, under the program of distributing fertilizer free of charge to farmers, the agri-research officers had given the relevant documents yesterday to the farmers in the area of Bandaragama, ensuring that the distribution of fertilizer will be done via the Agrarian Services Centre today. However, upon arriving at the Agrarian Services Centre, the farmers were inconvenienced and left disappointed as the institution was not open. Meanwhile, public health inspectors of Kahathurua participated in an inspection yesterday to find out whether there is a favourable environment for the reopening of several apparel factories in the area. An inspection was conducted on a factory that had begun operation recently.
රජයෙන් සහ ජනාධිපති කාර්යසාධක බලකායෙන් අපිට උපදෙස් ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා අපේ ප්‍රදේශවල තිබෙන කර්මාන්තශාලා වල නිෂ්පාදන ක්‍රියාවලිය ආරම්භ කරන්න. ඒ අනුව අද දවසේ අපි මෙම ස්ථානයට පැමිණ කර්මාන්තශාලාවේ නිෂ්පාදන ක්‍රියාවලිය සිදු කිරීම සඳහා අපගේ සීලුම් මහජන සෞඛ්‍ය පරීක්ෂකවරුන් මේ ස්ථානය පරීක්ෂා කරා. අපි ලබා දුන් උපදෙස් ඉදිරියේදී ඔවුන් ඉෂ්ට කරලා තිබුණොත් ඔවුන්ගේ නිෂ්පාදන ක්‍රියාවලිය ආරම්භ කිරීම සඳහා අපි අවසරයක් ලබා දීම තමයි අද දිනේ සිදු කරනු ලබන්නේ.
In another development, the Department of Railways has requested that all passengers make online bookings in advance via the department's website www.railway.gov.lk for travel from the 4th of May onwards. The Department of Railways insists that only those who have made bookings arrive at stations.
Acting Ambassador of China, He Wei, says that the people of China are grateful to Sri Lanka for being a friend in good times and bad. While paying a courtesy call on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Wei added that China is willing to return the goodwill in the form of its fullest cooperation to revive Sri Lanka's economy in the post-COVID-19 period.
The acting ambassador of the People's Republic of China in Sri Lanka, Chargé d'Affaires Hu Wei, has reaffirmed its support to the Sri Lankan government to revive the economy in the post-COVID-19 period. He made these comments during a courtesy call on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday. The acting ambassador added that his country and its people are grateful to Sri Lanka for being a friend in both good and bad times and reiterated China's expectation to assist Sri Lanka in overcoming its future challenges. During the meeting, he quoted a Chinese saying true friendship is to stick together in sorrow and happiness, and stated that China is willing to return the goodwill shown by the Sri Lankan people to China during its battle with the virus in the form of fullest cooperation to revive Sri Lanka's economy in the post-COVID-19 period. He added that Sri Lanka will receive help not only from China's central government but also from the country's leading companies and banks to rebuild its economy. President Rajapaksa stated that with the pandemic having adversely impacted the global economy, the country has been facing a sharp drop in foreign exchange earnings, which is an enormous challenge. However, Sri Lanka has planned to adopt a new development model to create a production economy, and added that he hopes to receive positive responses and the goodwill of friendly nations to make it a success. The president also stated that the country's expectations are not simply limited to loans and grants, but also in terms of attracting foreign investments that could positively contribute to an increase in the country's production capacity.
Now, the Australian Department of Defence yesterday donated a large stock of personal protective equipment, overalls and gloves through the Australian High Commission in Sri Lanka to the head of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of the COVID-19 Outbreak, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva. The stock of 10,200 high-quality PPE overalls and 200,000 gloves worth 150,000 Australian dollars, manufactured by a Sri Lankan-based Australian firm, will provide protection to the country's armed forces personnel at the forefront of the battle against the virus. High Commissioner of Australia David Holly, while handing over the donation to the Army Commander during a brief meeting yesterday, said that his government is committed to supporting Sri Lanka's preparedness and response to the virus through its implementing partners. Now, the sides of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa have fallen on the possibility of using digital technology to connect the producers and consumers. Focus is particularly given to the farming sector, as the elimination of the middlemen will ensure better revenue to farmers. The matter was discussed today with representatives from relevant ministries at the Presidential Secretariat.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa held discussions with Secretaries of Agriculture, Internal Trade, Consumer Welfare, Plantation Industries and Export, as well as other representatives, including from the Hector Kobakaduwa Agrarian Research and Training Institute today. During the talks, attention fell on the use of digital technology in the sale of agri-crops. The measure encompasses all from large-scale buyers to daily retail consumers. The objective of the move is to enable the farmers to compete for higher price for their crop. Digital technology can be used to bridge divisional secretariats, connecting the farmer and the buyer with ease. It will also enable farmers to gain a superior price for their produce, since it cuts out the middleman. The system can also be used in the country's Consumer Requirement Survey. The President had also said that the Transport Board, as well as the railways and postal departments, should also be made a part of this digital process.
We will see you again shortly after this break. Stay tuned.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has called a meeting of all 225 members of the previous parliament to discuss the prevailing situation in the country. The Prime Minister's office says that the meeting will take place on Monday, the 4th of May. The former parliamentarians have been informed to arrive at Temple Trees at 10 a.m. for the meeting. Now, All Ceylon Muckle Congress leader Rishad Badiuddin has filed a fundamental rights petition in the Supreme Court to prevent his arrest by the CID on charges of illegally transporting voters in Sri Lanka Transport Board buses during the last presidential election. The former minister alleges that his arrest is being sought on malicious charges and is seeking an interim order preventing his arrest until this petition is heard and a verdict is delivered.
Former Minister and leader of the All Ceylon Muckle Congress, Rishad Badiuddin, has filed a fundamental rights petition before the Supreme Courts seeking to prevent his arrest by the Criminal Investigations Department. In his petition, the former minister claims that with the CID having commenced investigations into an incident involving the transport of voters via buses belonging to the Sri Lanka Transport Board from the Puttlam district during the past presidential election, investigators were seeking his arrest on the charges. Padiuddin in his petition claims that he has no connection to the incident and charges that the CID's seeking of his arrest is malicious. He therefore requests the Supreme Court to issue an order declaring his possible arrest in violation of his fundamental rights and to issue an interim order preventing his arrest until this petition is heard and a verdict is delivered. Acting IGP C.D. Vikramaratne, the DIG in charge of the CID, the Director of the CID and the Attorney General have been named as respondents in the FR petition.
Now, Cabinet co-spokesperson Bandula Gunawardena, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, that is, during a cabinet briefing, denied allegations that President has violated the Constitution and rejected the need to summon a parliament that failed to stop the Easter attacks from taking place. Meanwhile, Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Ramesh Patirana says that according to some experts, the BCG vaccine could provide the immunization needed to protect the respiratory tract from the COVID-19 virus.
Sri Lanka has a splendid record in relation to immunization. We have almost zeroed in relation to vaccine-preventable diseases. We had a very good track record. World Health Organization has several times praised Sri Lanka for having achieved such success in those disease conditions. So we have continued that. We will continue to do so. I think that has also partly contributed. As per the experts, they said that this is partly covered. The immunity-wise, respiratory tract is also covered by BCG vaccination. That is basically given to prevent tuberculosis, but that is, as per some health experts, that is giving part immunity in relation to some of the respiratory viruses, which could possibly cover COVID-19 also.
In the meantime, Cabinet co-spokesperson Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the President had not violated the Constitution when he dissolved the Parliament.
මහජන බැංකුව ලබන සතියේ සිට ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන අස්වැන්න නමින් විශේෂ ණය යෝජනා ක්‍රමයක්. සානදායී පොලි අනුපාත යටතේ ගොවිය ලක්ෂ 30ක් දක්වා ණය මුදලක් ඒ කෘෂිකාර්මික ව්‍යාපෘති සඳහා ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්. බැංකුවල ණය ගෙවීම පැහැරහැරලා නැති සියලුම සුළු හා මධ්‍ය පරිමාණ වීමෝල් හිමියන්ට ණය පාසුකම් ලබා දෙන්නත් ඊයේ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ අනුමැතිය ලබා දුන්නා. මේ සතිය දෙක තුලදී ආර්ථික ක්‍රියාවලිය අධීරයෙන් අධීර යහපත් කර ගැනීම සඳහා අවශ්‍යම කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ රටේ මනුස්ස ජීවිත බේරගෙන අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමත් අපි කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ සියලුම දෙනාත් ජනතාවගේ සුබසිද්ධිය වෙනුවෙන් කැප වෙලා ඉරේ යන්න අපි සූදානම් බව එතුමට ප්‍රථමයෙන් දැනුම් දෙන්න කැමැතියි. එතුමා ජිනීවා වලට ගිහිල්ලා යුද අපරාධ චෝදනා යටතේ රණවිරුව සියලු දෙනා දනුකන්දේ ගසන්ට ක්‍රියා කරපු ඇමතිවරයා. අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ කිසිම වගන්තියක් උල්ලංඝනය කරලා නැහැ. මේ විසිරෝ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නැවත ගැඳවන්න බෑ. පුළුවන් එකම අවස්ථාවක් තියෙනවා. ඒ තමයි අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාට හදිසි තත්ත්වයක් ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න ගැඳවන්න පුළුවන්. ජනාධිපතිතුමා පැහැදිලිව කියලා තිනවා මට එවැනි අවශ්‍යතාවයක් ඇත්තෙම නැහැ කියලා. එතුමා බොහොම පැහැදිලිව කියලා තිනවා මේ පරණ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රටට කරපු විපත ගැන අබමල් රේණුවක අවබෝධයක් තියෙන කෙනෙක් මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කැඳවන්න කියනවා. ඒ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තියෙනකොට කියනවා අහවල් දවසේ අහවල් වෙලාවට සහරාන් අහවල් තැනට ගහනවා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ මැති ඇමතිවරු ඔක්කොමලා දැනගෙන ඉන්නවා. රජයේ අංශය දැනගෙන ඉන්නවා. එතකොට ඒ මනුස්ස ජීවිත 277ක් බේර ගන්න බැරි වෙච්ච පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නැවත කැඳවන්නේ මොකටද?
We will see you again shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Sri Lanka's inflation has decreased to 5.2% in April from 5.4% in March 2020. As per the Department of Census and Statistics, the Colombo Consumers Price Index for all items, for the month of April 2020 was 133.6, and it records an increase of 0.2 index points, that is 0.14 percentage points compared to the month of March 2020, for which the index was 133.4. This represents an increase of expenditure value by 114 rupees and 68 cents in the market basket. Year-on-year inflation of food group has also increased from 12.8% in March to 13.2% in April 2020, while that of non-food groups has decreased from 2.5% in March to 2.1% in April. Now, for the month of April, on year-on-year basis, contribution to inflation by food commodities was 3.71%. The contribution of non-food items was 1.55%. Meanwhile, the moving average inflation rate for the month of April 2020 was 4.8%, while the corresponding rate for the month of March this year was 4.7%. Now, Moody's Investors Service warns of an exacerbation in the government's liquidity and external risks owing to the prevailing coronavirus pandemic. Its latest report cautions that Sri Lanka is facing simultaneous domestic and external shocks amid the global COVID-19 outbreak.
Moody's Investors Service warns that the COVID-19 outbreak will exacerbate the government's liquidity and external risks and predicts difficulty in managing the widening budget deficit as well as attracting non-debt foreign earnings to build reserves. In its latest report, Moody's says that Sri Lanka is facing simultaneous domestic and external shocks amid the global coronavirus outbreak. Capital outflows, marked local currency depreciation, wider risk premia, and a further decline in real GDP growth will raise Sri Lanka's debt burden, liquidity constraints, and the cost of external debt servicing. This, it says, comes at a time when Sri Lanka's credit profile is highly vulnerable given low reserve coverage of large forthcoming external debt service payments and very weak debt affordability. The report adds that higher financing costs, wider deficits and a steeper trajectory for Sri Lanka's debt burden will weaken the government's already fragile fiscal position. Moody's also expects that the government will increasingly tap domestic financing sources, however notes that refinancing external debt domestically would further weaken the rupee and already thin foreign exchange reserve adequacy. It also expects the fiscal deficit to increase to over 8% of GDP over the coming years on weaker government revenue and greater spending, and the country's debt burden to rise to nearly 100% of GDP. The report also forecasts that Sri Lanka will face difficulties in managing the country's twin deficits amid the currently turbulent environment. It goes on to say that an elevated debt burden and rigid budget structure constrain fiscal policy space. Meanwhile, a trade-off between anchoring inflation expectations and supporting growth and a potential rise in borrowing costs will constrain monetary policy effectiveness. The lack of an effective and credible policy response to arrest a more severe and prolonged deterioration in credit metrics would further dim prospects for reforms that would meaningfully strengthen Sri Lanka's fiscal and external positions. The report says that delay in general elections could add to this challenge.
Now, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has decided to set up a refinancing facility in order to implement the decisions taken by the Cabinet of Ministers on the 20th of March this year to introduce a wide range of fiscal and financial concessions for COVID-19 hit business activities, including self-employment businesses and individuals. The Monetary Board, issuing a circular in this regard, directed licensed banks to extend the validity period of cheques valued at less than 500,000 rupees until the 15th of May 2020. The earlier deadline was 30th of April this year. Meanwhile, the central bank earlier stated that financial institutions will offer concessions under this scheme to all borrowers who have been affected by work disruption due to COVID-19 and overseas lockdowns and requested relief through online facilities or other communication arrangements before the 30th of April. The central bank has also decided to extend the above deadline until the 15th of May. Now, Wall Street stocks had two reasons to post gains yesterday after Gilead Sciences announced that its new COVID-19 drug, Remdesivir, had been showing promise in trials, and the Federal Reserve at its monetary policy meeting vowed to use all its tools to shore up the economy. On this news, Japan's Nikkei 2 posted opening gains today.
Wall Street stock indices surged yesterday as hopes for an effective COVID-19 treatment prompted a broad rally and helped investors look past bleak economic data. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 2.21%, the S&P 500 gained 2.66%, and the Nasdaq Composite added 3.57%. All are well within 20% of their record levels, with the tech-heavy Nasdaq now within 10% of its high. Drug maker Gilead Sciences INC announced that its drug remdesivir is showing promise as an effective COVID-19 treatment, giving a boost to the broader market and sending its shares up 6.2%. The US Federal Reserve wrapped up its two-day monetary policy meeting, leaving key interest rates near zero and vowing to use a full range of its tools to aid the economy in the face of a pandemic that poses considerable medium-term risks. Stocks slightly trimmed their gains after the Fed's statement. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, stocks opened higher, tracking Wall Street's rally inspired by positive drug trial results, and the US Federal Reserve pledged, with the Nikkei 225 opening up 1.70% today.
Now, the World Bank says that with foreign direct investments slated to fall by 37% this year, diaspora bonds that allow migrant workers from developing countries to invest in their countries of origin could help balance out the issue. However, careful structuring and an early withdrawal clause could be key to its success, as skeptics say that with many migrants having lost employment and income, the idea may not be as foolproof as they believe.
The coronavirus pandemic and its devastating economic impact on developing countries could fuel fresh interest in so-called diaspora bonds that allow migrants to support their countries of origin, experts from the World Bank and other groups say. Dilip Ratha, the World Bank's lead economist on migration and remittances, told Reuters that diaspora bonds could generate about $50 billion a year in total for developing countries, potentially helping to offset a sharp drop in foreign direct investment that is slated to fall by 37% this year. However, such claims have met with skepticism in some quarters, given the plight of many migrants who have lost jobs and income during the crisis, and as direct remittances have declined sharply. World Bank officials warned that developing economies could suffer close to a 3% decline in economic output of consumption and investment do not rebound quickly after the coronavirus pandemic. The World Bank has previously worked with Nigeria and India on diaspora bond issues, and that other countries have expressed interest in recent months as they scramble for resources to fight the virus and mitigate its impact. Nigeria's first diaspora bond was oversubscribed by 130% and raised $300 million, though Ethiopia had less convincing results with its 2008 and 2011 bonds. Such bonds work best if structured carefully and allow early withdrawal if investors want to back other projects in the country concerned, experts say.
Indian actor Rishi Kapoor, who starred in celebrated Bollywood movies, died this morning after a 2-year battle with leukemia. The 67-year-old is survived by his wife and 2 children and had been diagnosed with cancer in 2018. A veteran of at least 123 movies, Kapoor was conferred with national awards as a child actor for Bollywood film My Name is Joker. Kapoor's death follows yesterday's passing of another Indian actor, Irfan Khan, who had roles in films such as Life of Pi and Jurassic World and had also suffered from cancer. The World Para-Athletics Championship, which were due to be held in Japan in September 2021, have been rescheduled to 2022. The decision follows the postponement of Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games to 2021 due to the coronavirus pandemic. The Games in Kobe will now take place from 26th of August to September 4th in 2022. Kobe 2022 will feature about 1,300 athletes from 100 countries and will be the first major parasport competition in Japan after the Paralympics. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.